people, I think, are getting sick of me.
Why?
Just because I hear about it online. You thought I did good enough?
Yeah, like, you're my brother. You know what I'm saying? And
you thought I had a decent set?
To be honest,
Hans Kim is one of the current regulars on Kill Tony. He's been generally loved by fans since he's been on the show, but that's been slowly changing. If you check the comments on YouTube, we're seeing more and more jabs at Hans Kim. And it's even worse if you check the Kill Tony subreddit. There's a couple of interviews from the David Lucas podcast which show night and day the difference in reception from fans between him and his arch nemesis Rick Diez. Some could say that being in the spotlight, hateful comments just come with the territory. There are 3 regulars on Kill Tony. Hans seems to be the most disliked. Cam Patterson also gets his fair share of negative comments. His style of comedy isn't for everyone. And then you have William, who's definitely a fan favorite. So Hans's material started out bad and then got better and better, and lately it's been hit or miss. It can be pretty funny watching him bomb and then watch the panel just lay into him and have Hans awkwardly explain the bad jokes. So from an entertainment perspective, he definitely adds value to the show.
Hell yeah. Sam, what'd you think about this sweet performance by Hans Kim?
I'm a big fan of Hans off stage.
Mark Norman?
Can I just say that I like the Hawaiian shirt because that set reminded me of Maui.
The fact that Hans lately seems to bomb a lot, I think is probably a small part of the reason for losing support from fans. The bigger reason is the whole saga with Rick Diez. So Tony has had Hans battle to keep his regular spot to help keep him sharp, so he brings his A game. After the 5th challenge, Rick Diez then called him out for another challenge. So if Rick wins, he replaces Hans as a regular. And the way he called him out was like watching wrestling or something. It was entertaining.
Well, if I judge it by my laughs per minute, I think Hans Kim would have gotten a run for his money tonight.
Whoa.
Oh, shit.
Whoa.
Oh, shit.
Whoa.
Oh, shit.
But you have a full-time, very, very, very important job in Brussels. Isn't that correct? So you technically can't be a regular on this show anyway.
I could take a leave of absence if I negotiated it.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but you need like a green card, or you can't like just be here every week.
My dad has an American passport. I could apply for that shit.
I mean,
and I would kick Hans Kim's ass.
Whoa,
just for the sake of it.
Christ. Oh. Well, Rick, Hans isn't up for a challenge this week because he had one this week.
Not tonight anyway, but soon.
I had no idea you were interested in such a thing. But I mean, you're a golden ticket winner. You have a spot on the show no matter what. But it seems like you...
I feel like you're protecting him.
Seemed like Tony just didn't really want Hans to battle with Rick, which is strange because he kept saying how Hans only does a good job when he's being challenged. After Rick proposes the challenge, Tony and Red Band immediately are like, why? They don't even hype it up, they seem confused. He kept coming up with excuses as to why Rick can't be a regular, and Red Band even seemed annoyed. Later, Red Band comes up with the idea that if Rick loses, he has to give up his golden ticket, which means he can't come back on when he wants, and then Red Band goes even further and suggests that if Rick loses, he's banned from Kill Tony, which is a harsh and dumb idea because the crowd obviously loves Rick. Tony thankfully disregarded that idea. Why try and ban someone that your audience loves? Meanwhile, Hans seemed livid at the call out.
He was pissed.
Oh no, he blocked me on Instagram today.
Oh my God, he did?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's okay.
So then we get the New Year's Eve showdown. I can't show it, but I'll do my best to describe what went down. This was very high stakes. It was a one-on-one battle where the best minute wins. I thought Rick's minute was stronger, but the crowd made a louder noise for Hans, so he ended up winning. And so Hans got to keep his spot as a regular. The thing is though, Hans just kept taking jabs at Rick. And to be fair, Rick did take a lot of shots at Hans leading up to the battle, but you could tell it was just harmless trash talking to build things up. Hans seemed genuinely pissed off. He was hurling angry insults at him. He seemed really upset that the battle was even taking place. So the bad sportsmanship turned off a lot of fans, and what makes it worse was that a lot of viewers who watched felt like Hans should have lost. In fact, a lot of fans predicted that the battle was rigged and Hans was always going to win. So when it came to the night with Rick arguably doing a better performance, it seemed like they just gave it to Hans. And actually Shane Gillis, who was on the panel, also thought that Rick won. So that kind of pushed the narrative that Tony gave it to Hans. Even the way that Tony asked Shane who he thought won, it seemed like Tony was hinting at who he thought had more value to the show. Shane basically was hesitant to say who he thought won because he didn't want to be responsible for someone losing their job. And during that, Tony kind of talked up Hans a lot more than Rick. So basically Shane said, look, based on that minute, on what he saw, Rick won.
They did ask the opinion of the guests first, and then they went to public vote. And the guests were a bit hesitant whether they should say what they thought or not, but they did, and it was unanimously for me, which created a bit of a ruckus. And then they went to the public vote, and they asked the public to vote for me first.
Oh.
And I had a huge ovation. And Redman was scared. He told me, I thought you might have won right there and then.
He's shaking.
No, he was like, oh, that's on camera, right? And but then that benchmark, that noise, and they found that extra level for Hans.
So it was a controversial win for Hans. Instead of him saying something like, you know, it was close and best of luck or whatever, he just acted like a dick. I understand that it's your livelihood, but the competition is now over. You won. Would it be that difficult to give Rick a compliment and just humbly move on? Instead, he just doubled down on insulting Rick, which to a lot of people came off as arrogant. In some ways, Rick kind of helped him out. This whole scenario helped to promote the show, which also helped to promote Hans. So if he would have looked at things differently, he would have had so much more support from fans. If he actually was more graceful about the win, he could have made Rick look more like the villain.
I mean, it was getting really nasty after he kicked your ass out of the green room. It was getting super nasty.
Which time?
He was,
oh yeah,
gosh.
Twice.
Yeah. He kicked you out of the green room?
Oh, we didn't stop hearing about it.
Really?
2 times.
I haven't.
No. So on the 30th, he kicked me out of the green room. And on the 31st, I got there early, and I told the staff, I was like, I don't think he's going to want me there, so can you find me a nice place to stay at? And I stayed at the suite upstairs in the balcony with other people, like with Aaron Bilal and all that.
Hans kicked you out?
Yes.
Kicked his ass out.
So to be like this early on in your career is a bad look. Hans sat down with Dave Lucas and talked about what went down. And you could see that he was still pissed off about the challenge.
I didn't like the fact that Rick Diez singled you out.
Yeah.
And wanted to take your job. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, why?
But I don't like the way he did it. The way he did it was fucked because he didn't ask me before. He was like, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. Are you okay with this? He's like, this is my career and my life. This is one of the more important things in my life. You can't just play around with it on stage and then act like, what? I didn't do anything wrong. It's like, dude, you're playing with something that's very important to me. So, well, what did you think about the battle? You saw it.
I'm very, to be honest, bro, when I saw the battle, once you did your part and I was out there being your biggest cheerleader, and like you said, there's a picture of me flicking Rick Diez off. We'll probably show that in the clip somewhere. Once you did yours, I was like, I don't need to, like, he could have went up there and made himself disappear. I didn't care.
You thought I did good enough?
Yeah, like, you're my brother. You know what I'm saying? And
you thought I had a decent set?
To be honest, I didn't, because of the acoustics, I couldn't hear your set.
Well, just tell me what you think. I don't care. Everyone's saying that it sucked.
What was the joke that you did?
The squirting joke and the joke.
Can you tell me? Don't say the joke. We got to actually cut that out. But don't say the R word. Don't say that joke. But tell me the squirting joke again.
I'll just play a recording. I don't think that it was as, one-sided as Reddit thinks it is. I think they're counting out a lot of what I was doing. I don't think that they're giving me a fair shot.
So David Lucas is obviously biased here. I thought the best part is when he admits that he was going to be on his side no matter what. Lucas was even forced to admit that he didn't even hear Hans's set. Hans had to play him the audio from the show. And by the way, Lucas was in front of the crowd getting them to cheer louder for Hans, so it's like Rick was not only up against Hans, but he was up against the whole Kill Tony crew. So I think we can all agree that it was a little unfair for Rick, which is a shame because he actually seems like a nice guy. When the battle was over, he lost, but he took it well. He didn't have any bad things to say about Hans.
He's a decent comic, but he bombs a lot in longer sets because once you see that thing going on, oh, he's just this. It works for Kill Tony. He's a great Kill Tony comic.
Right.
But he bombs.
David Lucas also had Rick on, and if you compare the comment section between the two, it feels pretty one-sided. The amount of love Rick gets is almost night and day compared to Hans. But before I play that, if you're enjoying this video, hit the like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot. I really appreciate it.
I thought I could have beat him. And I thought, okay, I would like to challenge him because also I was asking, since I'm the last golden ticket winner at that point, now Heath won one. I thought, he hasn't given a golden ticket in a while. Mm-hmm. I'm the latest one. It seems like internet is liking me.
Okay.
So I asked, am I going to be on the New Year's Eve show? And the answer I got is like, well, we have to see. And I was like, well, I'm going to get myself on the New Year's Eve show. I'm going to do what I can do because I'm going to go back to Brussels and I'm going to be forgotten.
Right.
I'm not going to stay in this scene and try to have other opportunities to be and meet people and network. I have to go back to my job.
Right.
So what can I do while I'm here?
Right.
To be seen.
Smart.
So for Rick, you can see it was never personal. This was just him shooting his shot. He saw that maybe he could do better than Hans as a regular. Why not go for it? Maybe that will send a message that none of the regulars are safe. So Hans's journey on Kill Tony is becoming interesting. Tony is a huge wrestling fan, so I think he likes building up the storylines. Maybe he likes that Hans is becoming this sort of anti-hero character. Personally, I would have liked to have seen Rick win. He did the better set. Plus, Hans has already built up his own fan base. He already has enough fame to start touring. He could still drop into Kill Tony every once in a while, just like David Lucas. So yeah, this seems to be the worst it's been for Hans. Even when he does a good set, he still gets hate in the comments. I think with time he could gradually win the fans back, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thanks for watching and I'll see you on the next one.